and welcome back to my channel. In this video I will show you the steps we took to making my Absolem costume from Alice in Wonderland. I decided I wanted to make Absolem as he's a little bit of a different character, but I didn't want to have this costume being a literal caterpillar. So I've come up with some ideas that were inspired by the colours and the feeling and personality a little bit of Absolem, as well as then using the shaping to kind of give some form of a caterpillar body. So the first thing me and my mother did was just started playing with some of the fabrics that we've had at home, putting them on our mannequin, seeing what colours we liked and didn't like together. We did find that we were tending to go too green, so we redid a second design with a lot more blue in it. And this is how Axel helps today. He's actually made a nest, all the fabrics that we are trying to use. He's decided he's just going to curl up and have a wee sleep. We're now getting ready to start cutting our costume out. We've pinned out the first piece. Because it's a stretch fabric, it's stretch velvet, which we were discussing what do people use this for apart from costumes and scrunchies. So if you have anything else that you use it for, let us know. So we've put our weights on there so that we could pin it without the fabric moving and stretching around. It seems to have worked quite well. This skirt was made up of 6 large panels to create a huge amount of fullness, as we wanted lots of ruffles in the underskirt. Once all the panels were cut out, it was time to pin the panels all together and sew up the side seams. I did this with just my overlocker, as it was a nice quick way to get a clean seam. Once all the side panels were sewn together, I created a pocket for a waistband. The plan for the waist was just to thread ribbon through it so that I could tie it at whatever size I needed for myself. Alright, so this week I've had a little bit of time off camera making the costume. I did it off camera because it was late at night and I was just tired from working all day, so I thought I just wanted to get into it and not really think about filming and everything like that. But I've been making the corset for my outfit. Decided to go with interfacing all of it. So this interfacing is extra heavy because I wanted to kind of have a bit more of a really rigid hard shell casing for the outside. So yes, that's what my corset's looking like so far. That's the outer side, and then done the same with the liner. I've done the liner with about a medium weight interfacing. Have decided not to bone it there. So the next stage is to sew the two together. So you can see how already this holds its shape quite well. Now that the bodice and underskirt is done, I started playing around with the idea of a shift skirt. This is very loosely based on a Victorian skirt design. I had watched some YouTube videos on Victorian outfits to kind of give me some ideas on how to do this and what I wanted to do. The first task was to just kind of cut out a bit of a shape that I wanted the skirt to be. I cut this out as a full-length skirt, as I will be gathering it up on the sides. So here I have my fabric just cut in half and basically have created an A-line shape down one side. Then I repeated this same shape with a liner of my skirt. Finally I pinned the liner and my outer skirt together. Now this part I did pin right sides together, as I had planned to just overlock the edge of this fabric to connect the two. So here you can see all 4 sides of my skirt panel are overlocked. What we are working on next is we've got to
put pleats on this side and the other side of this swag skirt, I think they call them. So I'm really just winging this. We don't have a pattern, so I'm going to take a measurement, start pleating it up on both sides, and then just try it on and see how it goes before I sew it all down. That would make, so if we went that way, that's going to make quite a thick amount here. So I'm wondering if that's maybe just a few too many. And the other thing obviously is I need to have enough space at the bottom still to hem it and it cover over. So that gives me a little bit of an idea. But I think first I'm going to stop at this point. I think I'm going to make a hem on here. So I'm not trying to hem that bit later. And then relook at the maths. But that's the kind of idea of what we're going for. But I think that's maybe, I might need to take them out from 10 centimetres or 4 inches to maybe up to like 15, which would be centimetres, which would be closer to 6 inches. So we'll stop at that point. We will make our hem, because I think it needs to be hemmed first, and we will come back and try again. Okay, so I've done both sides pleated. The one thing I did find is, because it was so thick here, which I knew it was, is that my machine kind of like pushed the fabric out, which is fine because I can just go along and hand tack that in when I'm finished, because it's on the back side of the skirt. Pinned it onto my model at the moment, and it looks like it's kind of giving it shape, and it's definitely looking like I will need to dart it up here to give it a bit more shape in the top, so that it helps keep that swooping look. But yeah, other than that, I think the pleats are quite good. It's giving me a nice little amount of ruffles. It's going to go to about just above my knee, because I'm not the tallest.
Alright, so here I am creating some darts for the top of the shift skirt. I have done the darts at 8 centimetres from the centre panel and 3 centimetres wide. And then I've done the same with the second dart. I've done it 8 centimetres from the first dart and 3 centimetres wide.
So there I have sewn in my 4 darts. Also quickly just wanted to show you how I finished off the top of the shift skirt. A waistband on using the same fabric as the liner, and continued it into ties so that we can tie a bow to put the skirt on nice and easily. We have also connected some hook and eyes, and these are so we can fasten the bustier skirt too. This is where we're at so far. So we've got a full skirt at the bottom, and we brought all the fullness to the front, and then we've got our swag skirt and our corset going. So the next step is going to be to create a bustier out the back of it. For my back skirt part, this is kind of what we're trying to achieve. Just pinned it to my mannequin, but the first thing I've sort of done is I've done half the width of the fabric by doing a box pleating on them, where I've marked the fabric every 2 inches, then every inch, then 2 inches, then every inch, and then folded it on itself towards the centre back. So that's going to create me a bit of a puffier waist anyway. And then on the inside of it, I've got strings hanging down, and I've pinned to the strings, so those will just be hand tacked. So we're going to pleat our sides a little bit more correctly after we've attached this to a waistband, and then create a couple of good puffy bellows. Alright, so I'm working on the pleats at the side of the bustle skirt. At the moment I'm doing 2 inches between the pleats, and the pleats are 6 inches that are being folded up. I've decided I want to take the side pleats of this bustle all the way down, because I want to do quite a lot of tacking in the middle of the bustle as well. So I'm going to show you what I have been doing to create the side pleats. I've measured from the top of the pleat, I've measured 2 inches and put a pin. And then from the pin, I'm going to measure 6 inches. Okay, and then I'm going to take this pin and fold it up to the top pin. So then again, take my tape measure from the top of the pleat, 2 inches. For those who work in centimetres, that's 5 centimetres. Okay, and then from our mark there, we're going to go 6 inches, and again it's about 15 centimetres for those who only work in one of them or the other. So one, pin it, but I still will pin a couple of inches down just to hold this, the bottom of this pleat into place for when I go to sew it. And there we go, that is one side done. So to get the skirt to puff in the middle of the back, we are going to tack the skirt in certain places on these 3 strings here. Now at the moment I've got these sewn into the top of the skirt. We do want them at a different level, so when I was doing this on the mannequin, I did the first one on the middle string at 6 inches and then every 4 inches, and then the side seam I did the first one at 8 inches and then every 4 inches. So that's our first thing. I am going to tack them with safety pins though, because when I was doing it on my mannequin, I kept dropping the pins and losing my marks, which is really hard when it's vertically up and there's all this fabric. So I think today we'll go for some little safety pins and see if that makes my life a little easier, because once I've done the measurements on here, I have to do the measurements on the skirt, and then I need to kind of hand tack them together. And just by pinning it first, if I get it all done and then decide, okay, it's not quite giving me the look I want, obviously I can undo it. But I'm pretty sure that's going to be close to what I'm after, as I've already done a mock-up on the mannequin. And then I was also watching a lady on YouTube, and she said if you still need more puff, you can actually go ahead and put, like, once these are tacked, and you can put some chulin behind them to help lift out those spaces in that, but that's going to depend on how puffy and large bottomed you want your shaping to be. This next part would have potentially been easier to have done before I had gathered all of this up and done my pleats on the side, because I could have just folded the fabric flat on the table and marked it. So I guess in hindsight, maybe a good idea to, before you start doing all your gathering, put some marking points in, but I really had no idea where I was going to be putting the pins and the marks, so I didn't really know what kind of points to put in. But that's okay, we will manage it, we'll get it close, like I said, we'll pin it, we'll get it nice and close, and then if it looks a little funny, we'll just move them a little bit on once we've got it all pinned together on the mannequin. So the first thing I'm doing is folding my fabric in half, because I want to get this halfway seam, and I want to measure every 10 inches. For those using centimetres, that's about 25 centimetres. Open this up and do every 14 inches down this side and this side, and I'll come back to you when we're at that. Okay, so at this point, yes, it would have definitely been easier to mark this before I had done the other sewing. Probably would have even been more practical to have undone all my pins and redone them for the side so that you can get it flat. But what I'm doing, because I'm lucky enough to have a stripe in my fabric is I'm marking down the 14 centimeters, and then I'm just looking at it to see if there's any majorly obvious twists and just sort of straightening it up. Then once I've got it on the mannequin, I will double check if it's sitting right. If it's not, I'll move the pins a little bit left or right as I need them. So I have got my pin markers in on my back skirt, and I've got them on the tape as well, so we're just going to go around and try and match them up and see how they go. Yes, I am in my pyjamas. I just couldn't be bothered getting dressed this morning. So really all I'm doing is getting the string with that pin there and the pin that I've got in the dress piece, and I am lining them up. I see that's a bit definitely fiddly and definitely a bit difficult to kind of show you. So I've lined them up, then I'm getting another pin. Hopefully enough. So seeing those two pins as close as possible and just going through, pinning them together. So now that's pinned through on the tape there, pinned through on the fabric here, and that is creating our puffiness in our fabric. Okay, so this is how it's looking when I've pinned it all up. I'm really liking the look. It really is giving that idea of a bussier caterpillar look, and the one thing that is happening is that it is curving at the front. Now that is probably because I have over pleated the front, the amount of pleats at the back. I'm okay with that. I don't mind the look of that. I think it just kind of gives me more shaping. And so I guess the next part is everywhere where these pins are, I'm actually going to hand tack it with a needle and thread, because I think that's probably the easiest and best option. So part of my Absolem costume that I want to do is his smoking pipe. For a costume I decided I'd go to the thrift store and pick up a couple of glass items and glue them together. So that's exactly what I've done here. I've got a candlestick here, and I believe this is probably like an oil container, but what attracted me to it was the fact that it already had the nozzle part here, and I'm going to put like a rope out of it to the mouthpiece. Our first step was gluing these two together, so we've done that. We found a glue in the house that seems to be holding. And then our second step is to paint chalkboard paint on it. As from the research we've done, it says that chalkboard paint will adhere to the glass.
So we only needed to do one coat of the black chalkboard paint. It stuck to the glass really well and dried wonderfully. The gold paint, on the other hand, we ended up needing to do 3 coats to get the coverage we needed. Unfortunately, the gold paint we had was a kid's poster paint, and we really should have brought in acrylic as it didn't bond well. To finish off the pipe, I have used a pen lid gold rope and hot glued them together. And this is the final result. This is the pieces of the costume all finished. We're starting off here by putting on our blue underskirt. Then we are tying on our shift skirt, followed by our back bustle. The back bustle is fastened with hook and eyes. You can also see that I have added trim to the side. My bodice is placed over the top and then laced up at the back. And the last item is my coat. Once I had placed the coat on top of the costume, I noticed the back was too long, and so I decided to bring the bottom of the seam up so that you could see more of my bustle. And here is me and my nieces all dressed and ready to go for the day. We had such a great time and it was so much fun to dress up. As you can see, I finished off my costume with a little headpiece that I found in my stash of goodies and just added a couple of feelers to it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.